When I was 8 years old, my parents and I moved into a quiet neighborhood on the edge of a town I'd never heard of before. The houses were identical in a way that made it hard to tell which one was ours at first. Same pale siding, same trimmed hedges, same mailbox post painted the same dull green. Even the sidewalks looked freshly scrubbed, like someone was afraid of leaving fingerprints on the place. The HOA president came by that afternoon. He introduced himself with a handshake that lingered too long, and a plastic container balanced in the crook of his arm. Inside was a cake that had been frosted to look fancy, but when my mom cut into it later, it tasted bland and artificial, sweet in the wrong way, like flavoring instead of food. The kind of thing that leaves your mouth dry afterward. He also handed my parents a packet of papers and stood on the porch while they skimmed through it. I remember most of it being boring. Rules about lawns, trash bins, noise complaints, outdoor decorations, and how long cars should be parked on the street. Normal HOA stuff. I was personally more interested in the ants crawling near the steps. Then my dad stopped flipping pages. I remember him reading one line silently, his eyebrows pulling together. When I asked what it said, the HOA president laughed a little too fast and said it was just an old neighborhood joke. Nothing serious. My mom took the papers anyway. Later that night, I snuck the packet off the kitchen counter and read the part I'd seen my dad pause on. It was printed in the same font as everything else. Same size, same spacing. No bold letters or warnings. Don't let the midnight salesman in. That was it. No explanation, no context. Just sitting between a rule about patio furniture and another about window blinds. I didn't sleep much that night. At exactly 12, there were 3 knocks on our front door. Not loud, not soft. Perfectly even, like someone tapping on a desk. My parents froze. My mom stood up and relocked the door despite it already being locked. Then the voice came through the wood.
Mr. and Mrs. Grayson, would you be interested in this product I'm selling? I must say, it's an offer I can't refuse.
His voice was calm and practiced, the way customer service workers talk when they're reading from a script. He didn't raise it, he didn't sound angry, he sounded patient. No one answered. He stood there for exactly 5 minutes. I counted on the microwave clock in the kitchen. He kept talking the entire time, changing the wording slightly each night. Sometimes he said it was a limited opportunity. Sometimes he said it was essential. Sometimes he said it was a solution. But it always started with our names, always polite, always certain. When the 5 minutes were over, he stopped mid-sentence and left. There were never footsteps, just silence where he had been. This happened every night. Eventually it became routine. Lights off by 11. Curtains shut. TV muted. My parents whispered instead of talking. Sometimes I'd peek through the blinds and see porch lights turning off down the street one by one, like the neighborhood was holding its breath together. One night I asked, "Why don't we just tell him to go away?" My mom didn't answer at first. She kept her eyes on the dark window, watching our reflection instead of the street outside. "Because we don't talk to him. That's the rule." "But he's just standing there. He's not doing anything weird." My dad turned the volume on the TV down another notch. even though it was already barely audible. "You don't know that, and neither do we. So for now, just do what you're told." "He knows our names. How does he know our names?" Neither of them responded. My mom reached over and squeezed my knee too hard, like she was trying to physically keep me still. "You don't open that door," my dad said. His voice wasn't angry, it was tight, controlled. "You don't answer him, you don't look at him, you don't think of him. You stay away from the front of the house after midnight. Do you understand me?" I nodded, even though I didn't really understand anything except that they were scared. After a few weeks, the fear turned into something else. Curiosity. Frustration. I was tired of hiding, tired of being quiet in my own house. One night, before my mom could grab my arm, I walked to the door and unlocked it. The salesman was standing just outside the reach of the porch light. He looked normal. Too normal. Clean clothes, neatly combed hair, empty hands, no bag, no clipboard. Nothing to prove he was selling anything at all. Before I could say a word, my dad rushed forward and shoved me backward into the hallway, hard enough that I fell. The salesman didn't even glance at me. His eyes locked onto my father instead, and his smile widened just slightly. He said my dad's name like he'd known it for years. I don't know what was said outside. The door closed behind them, and the wind started immediately, rushing through the trees so hard the windows rattled. The pressure in my ears made everything feel underwater. It only lasted a few seconds. When my dad came back inside, he was carrying an expensive towel warmer. He held it against his chest like it mattered, like it was important. He walked past us without speaking and sat down on the couch. "Dad?" He didn't look at me. My mom stepped in front of him and crouched down so her face was level with his. Hey, talk to me, honey. What did he say to you?" No response. She touched his arm and gave it a small shake. "You're scaring me, Henry. Say something. Anything." He blinked slowly but didn't react. His eyes stayed open, unfocused, like he was staring through the wall instead of at it. I moved closer and waved my hand in front of his face. "Dad, please stop. This isn't funny." My mom grabbed at his shoulders and shook him harder now. "Look at me, Henry. Please, look at me." His head moved with her hands, but his eyes didn't follow. I remember my mom's voice breaking when she said his name again and again, getting louder each time, like volume alone might pull him back. "Call 911, she said suddenly, not looking away from him. I froze because I was overwhelmed. "Damn it, right now!" I ran to the kitchen phone with my hands shaking so badly I almost dropped it. Behind me, my dad sat perfectly still on the couch, holding the towel warmer like it was the last thing he had been told to keep. We tried talking to him, shaking his shoulder, calling his name. He blinked slowly but didn't react. His eyes stayed open, unfocused, like he was staring through the wall instead of at it. At the hospital, the doctors told us there was no physical damage, no stroke, no trauma, no tumors. His brain scans were clean. One of the neurologists spoke to my mom in a quiet consultation room while I sat on the paper-covered exam table swinging my legs. I tried not to listen, and even though I couldn't understand any of it, it still stuck with me. Structurally, his brain looks normal. There's no sign of hemorrhage, ischemia, swelling, or mass effect. His MRI and CT scans are also unremarkable. My mom gripped the edge of the chair as she cried. Then why won't he do anything? We're seeing electrical activity on the EEG. Basic cortical function is present, reflexes are intact, pupillary response is normal, but he isn't producing any form of purposeful movement or speech. So he's in a coma? My mom asked. The doctor shook his head. Not exactly. He's awake. His eyes are open. Sleep-wake cycles are present. What's missing is meaningful interaction with the environment. He paused, choosing his words carefully. It suggests a severe disruption in the networks that connect sensory processing to motor response. In layman terms, his brain is receiving all the information it needs, but it isn't translating that input into anything beyond autonomous actions. Can it heal? Be fixed? My mom asked. There's no visible injury to recover from, the doctor said quietly. That's what makes this difficult. We can't point to a damaged area, and therefore we can't do anything. Right now, we'd have to classify this as a disorder of the consciousness with no identifiable structural cause. I remember him adding one last thing before leaving the room. It's extremely rare to see this in patients without trauma, which means we don't have a clear explanation. I'm sorry, but there's nothing we can do for him. He never came back. Not really. He still sat in the living room sometimes. Still somehow ate if food was put in front of him. Still breathed, but nothing inside him mattered anymore. It was like the salesman had taken whatever part of him made him, him. She stayed in that house, even after I left. I left for college when I was 18. Moving out felt less like freedom and more like escaping a house that had already gone quiet. I went to a state school a few hours away and studied something practical because I didn't know what else to choose. I avoided talking about my dad. When people asked why I never went home for holidays, I said there had been a medical emergency and left it at that. I started seeing a therapist during my second year because I kept waking up at midnight for no clear reason. We talked about trauma and anxiety, how kids can internalize things and blame themselves for what they had no control over. I never mentioned the salesman. Some things felt safer staying unnamed. My mom kept my dad in assisted care while I was gone. I helped pay when I could. There were specialists, rehabilitation programs, and quiet hospital rooms that all blended together after a while. When I visited, I talked anyway. About classes, about dumb campus problems, about the weather. He never answered. Sometimes I thought his eyes followed me when I stood up to leave, but the nurses said it was involuntary, and I eventually stopped asking. I met my wife during my last year of college. We started studying together and slowly built something normal. At first, I told her my family situation was complicated. Later, I told her about my dad, about the silence, about the house. She didn't push for details I wasn't ready to give. When we got married and talked about where to live, I told her anywhere that wasn't my childhood neighborhood. She agreed without hesitation. Meanwhile, my mom couldn't afford to move. I think she was also afraid to leave. The knocking never came again after that night. But the rule was still there, sitting in the HOA packet in the drawer, untouched, waiting. Yesterday, my mother passed away. I spent the day signing papers, making phone calls, packing hospital belongings into plastic bags. When I came home, the house felt bigger than it ever had before. Too quiet. No monitors. No murmured conversations. Just empty rooms and furniture that suddenly belonged to no one. The house is in my name now. While going through the filing cabinet, I found the old HOA packet. The pages were yellowed. The rule was still there. Exactly the same. Don't let the midnight salesman in.